Imagine for a second that you're a 20-something rookie singer.
Okay.
You're immensely talented, right? You've proven yourself on a massive stage, but you desperately need that one undeniable hit song to just cement your career.
Right, the big breakout track.
Exactly. And the only way to get it is to somehow walk into the studio of a legendary multi-platinum, highly intimidating producer and somehow convince him to give you his absolute best work.
Which is terrifying. I mean, how do you even approach that?
Right, like how do you level the playing field? How do you bypass all that rigid industry hierarchy? Well, if you're Gwyn Dorado, you just don't meet him in some stuffy corporate boardroom. You challenge him to a game of basketball.
I love it. You just drag Goliath right out of his element.
Completely. Welcome to the Future_Music Deep Dive. I am so excited for this one. Today we are initiating a massive comprehensive audit of the strategic and honestly the emotional architecture that goes into engineering the perfect musical collaboration.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. It really is. Now, you might remember in a previous deep dive, we spent a lot of time analyzing the metaphor of that YouTube teaser video regarding this exact pairing.
Oh, yeah. We made a ton of guesses based on basically nothing.
Right. We were totally in the dark. But Netflix has finally released the full video of episodes 5 and 6. We now possess the complete context. We can actually trace this entire narrative arc from the sweat of the basketball court all the way to the psychological canvas of the recording studio.
It's just so satisfying to finally have the full picture. You know, the teaser gave us the what, but these episodes give us the how and the why, which is where the real magic of music production actually lives.
Absolutely. So let's set the stage for you. The core premise of the program we are analyzing is defined simply, but the stakes are incredibly high. It's basically famous singers need hit songs. We are observing the top 6 vocalists from the highly competitive survival program Sing Again 4. And these aren't amateurs. They are incredible artists directly competing to secure a guaranteed chart-topping track from a curated lineup of absolute apex predator Korean producers.
Yeah, the musical ecosystem here is no joke at all.
Not at all. And the focal point of our analysis today is Team CoDo. So for context, Team CoDo is the designated pairing of the young, exceptionally talented female artist Gwyneth Dorado and the veteran male hitmaker Code Kunst.
A fascinating dynamic.
Right. Now let's unpack this from a strategic standpoint for a second. When you're looking at the ultimate win score strategy in a competition like this, what is the mathematically optimal play?
Well, that is the golden question.
Do you pair 2 artists with identical stylistic algorithms, like put a ballad singer with a ballad writer, just to ensure a smooth, frictionless production process? Or is it actually more effective to force a collision of diametric opposites to synthesize an entirely unique commercial product?
It's a classic debate, right? Harmony versus friction. And what's so fascinating about Team CoDo is that on paper, it looks like pure friction. I mean, you have a soaring vocal powerhouse paired with a producer who is known for his laid-back, effortlessly cool, instrumental-heavy hip-hop and R&B beats.
Exactly. Completely different operational modes. So today, we are going to explore how they took that potential friction and turned it into kinetic energy. We're going to move from the physical equalizer of a basketball court to the highly curated identity canvas of a recording studio, analyzing exactly why all the evidence projects this specific Team CoDo pairing to succeed brilliantly.
And to really understand why this pairing works, we have to start by analyzing the systemic landscape of their initial meeting.
Yeah.
We have to look at the foundational psychology.
Right.
Because the opening sequence of this collaboration actively and brilliantly subverts the anticipated corporate environment.
It totally flips the script.
It really does.
Yeah.
And Dorado and Code Kunst do not meet in a sterile boardroom with platinum plaques on the walls designed to make the junior artists feel small. They meet at a location the show identifies as Slam Dunk Studio.
Which is literally just a specialized indoor basketball court.
Exactly. And as a listener, you have to ask yourself, why here? We have to evaluate Dorado's emotional profile and her strategic vulnerability in this specific context. She actively requested this location.
Yes.
The show's editors explicitly label this act as sending a challenge. She is attempting to neutralize a massive industry power imbalance before they even talk about a single musical note.
And the context here is everything right. The archive footage the show provides gives us the geographical and cultural origins of her strategy. She grew up in the Philippines where basketball isn't just a game. It essentially operates as the national sport.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's part of the cultural fabric. She possesses 11 solid years of practical experience on the court. She holds competitive accolades like Rookie of the Year and was even included in the Mythical Five, which is a huge deal.
Okay, so she is serious.
Very serious. The sheer weight of those titles forms the absolute foundation of her physical confidence.
Right, she isn't just taking him to a neutral location. She is taking him to her fortress.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting regarding her strategic deployment of nostalgia. It's not just a power play, it's an emotional play. She explicitly states in the episode that she wanted to play basketball ever since she migrated to Korea, but she lacked the social network to do so.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, she literally says she had no friends to play with. By inviting Code Kunst into the specific geographical proxy of her childhood home, she leverages her domain expertise to bridge this massive industry power gap. She is quite literally weaponizing her past to secure her future.
And we really need to pause and unpack the emotional weight of that for a second. Because in the context of her Philippine background, this invokes a profound cultural concept of Hugot.
Oh, I love this concept. Can you explain Hugot for the listener?
Yeah, so Hugot translates to this deep, resonant, emotional pulling. It's like an angst or profound sentimentality drawn from deep personal experience. It's usually associated with heartbreak in music. But here it's about the ache of isolation. She is applying this deep emotional resonance directly to her collaborative strategy.
Wow.
She's taking a simple game of basketball and transforming it into a profound relational anchor. She's basically saying, I am letting you into a part of my life that has been lonely. And that instantly changes the dynamic from transactional to deeply personal.
That is such a brilliant read on the situation, and man, what a clash it creates on the court. We observe this severe collision of physical and social parameters, because let's look at Code Kunst's internal representation here.
Yeah, let's look at the stats.
He identifies as a total soccer fanatic. The show uses the Korean term chukdalai, which essentially means a guy who just lives and breathes soccer. But on top of that, he possesses a massive physical advantage. Specifically, he has 25 centimeters of height over Dorado.
Which is huge on a basketball court. I mean, that's a massive difference.
Right. And the show's editorial team visualizes this disparity brilliantly. They frame this height difference as a Goliath obstacle, literally putting graphics on the screen, labeling it the 25-centimeter wall.
But here's the funny part. Despite that physical advantage, Code Kunst is the one who is terrified.
Oh, yeah, he is shaking.
He exhibits a highly specific psychological defense mechanism in response to this unconventional meeting. And to understand it, you have to understand the Korean cultural framework of his anxiety, which is defined by the concept of the fear of narak.
Yes, the narak sensor.
Exactly. So for our listeners who might not be familiar, narak roughly translates to the hellgate or the abyss. In modern Korean internet culture, falling into narak represents the absolute bottom of social embarrassment. It's being canceled or just being relentlessly memed for looking foolish.
It's the ultimate loss of face, right?
Precisely. Think about it from his perspective. He is a veteran, commercially successful, highly respected producer known for his effortless, cool guy demeanor. The prospect of losing a sweaty physical competition to a 20-year-old junior female artist on national television presents a critical threat to his carefully curated public persona. His cool is his currency.
So how does he handle it? He adopts the behavioral archetype of what I like to call the casual expert. It's hilarious to watch. He intentionally feigns a lack of effort. He actually says out loud that he is afraid he will look too pathetic if he tries too hard.
Which is such a transparent defense mechanism. Like, come on, man.
100%. It is a highly calculated risk management strategy. The logic is simple, right? If he doesn't appear to try, his eventual defeat cannot be attributed to a lack of capability. He can just say, oh, I wasn't really playing for real. It protects his internal ego and his external image. And, I was thinking about this, and I want to submit an original structural analogy for this dynamic because it relates directly to music production.
Go, let's hear it. Lay it on me.
What Dorado did by bringing him to the basketball court is identical to forcibly extracting an electronic music producer from their state-of-the-art digital audio workstation.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Right, where they have infinite undos, auto-tune, and perfect control, and demanding they perform on a live, unamplified acoustic instrument they have barely ever touched right in front of an audience.
Oh, that is a fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
It's like taking a world-class DJ, handing them a cello and saying, impress me.
Exactly. It completely strips away their defensive polish. It forces them to operate entirely on raw, unmediated intuition. They can't hide behind the software. The basketball court functions as that acoustic instrument. It exposes the fragile, awkward human being beneath the polished producer persona.
And that exposure is exactly what Dorado needed to level the playing field. I mean, if we look at the actual match progression, you can see the psychological hierarchy shifting in real time. The game transitions from this awkward warm-up phase to an official match establishing a first to 3 points framework. And Dorado enforces strict competitive integrity. She does not let him off the hook.
Oh, she is ruthless in the best way. She takes no prisoners.
The show actually labels her FM Dorado.
Wait, what does the FM stand for there?
It references a field manual. It means she does everything strictly by the book. She explicitly refuses to accept a handicap from the much taller producer. And then she absolutely dominates the initial phase of the competition. She goes on a massive 4-0 scoring run.
It's a bloodbath, just complete domination.
It is. And the editorial architecture of the show is so quick to capitalize on this. They assign her the moniker Stephen Radu.
I laughed out loud at that when I saw it.
It's brilliant. It's a direct parody of the professional basketball athlete Stephen Curry, combining his legendary three-point shooting reputation with her designated producer moniker from the show, which is Rado. And remember, the pronunciation is crucial here. It's Stephen Rado. This linguistic play by the editors officially establishes her absolute dominance in this specific physical domain. Goliath is getting crushed.
But then the environment has to undergo a systemic recalibration, right? Because the producers of the show need to maintain narrative tension. So the rules change to designated zone shooting. This introduces an artificial handicap to assist the underdog producer, which, hilariously, is the 180-centimeter tall guy, giving him a mathematical path to recovery.
And this is where we see the real Code Kunst peek out from behind the casual expert mask.
Yep, he wakes up.
He leverages this rule change to mount a perfect 2-0 comeback in the second round. It demonstrates his incredible adaptive capacity and his underlying competitive drive.
Yeah, that whole posture of casual indifference vanishes instantly when he sees a chance to win. The fear of Narak that the editors were joking about is completely overridden by his basic biological imperative to just not lose on television.
Which brings us to the narrative climax of this physical equalizer, the tiebreaker round. The stakes are defined by this very traditional, very classic Korean variety show mechanic, granting a wish right to the victor.
The ultimate blank check. You can ask for anything.
Exactly. And Dorado secures the final victory. She wins the game. She earns the wish right. But as a listener, you have to realize this is not merely a game mechanic. It is a vital transitional device. Earning this right officially shifts their relational taxonomy.
Okay, let's break that down because I want to make sure we aren't getting too academic here. What does shifting their relational taxonomy actually look like on the ground, like day to day?
Right. So it means that before the game, they were operating under a strict hierarchy. He is the intimidating senior producer. She is the nervous rookie. They are separated by age status and industry power.
A huge gap.
A massive gap. But the moment she wins that game and earns that wish,
right,
they transition to a completely new, explicitly labeled egalitarian status. They become music friends.
Music friends.
Yes. The physical domain successfully reset the psychological hierarchy. The executive function of the basketball court sequence is complete. She has neutralized the threat.
Okay, so she won the game, she leveled the playing field, but what does this all mean for the actual music?
Right, how does this get us a hit song?
Exactly. How does sweating on a basketball court translate into a multi-platinum track? We have to deconstruct the architecture of their transition into the creative space.
The bridge between those two worlds is the wish right.
Precisely. The wish right serves as the causal link, moving our two agents from the court to the recording studio. Dorado's prize for her athletic victory is access to Code Kunst's inner sanctum. And I want to posit something here. This studio is not merely a functional workspace. It's not just a room with some speakers and a computer. It operates as a highly curated identity canvas.
Oh, I like that term, identity canvas.
Think about it. When you walk into someone's office, the things they put on their desk tell you exactly how they want to be perceived. The source material from the episode meticulously details the artifacts that construct Code Kunst's canvas. The editorial team explicitly notes that his specific taste is evident starting all the way from the entrance carpet, which features his personal symbol.
Yeah, and once we get inside, the artifacts are fascinating.
Yeah, they really are. We observe a book prominently displayed concerning the artist Amy Winehouse. Now, what does that broadcast?
It shows taste.
It immediately signals Code Kunst's foundational roots in neo-soul music. It says, I respect the classics, I respect raw vocal talent. Then we observe his software of choice, Cubase Pro 12, loaded up on the monitors, which signals his technical operational framework. But right next to that high-end technical gear, we observe Lego Technic supercars.
Which is such a contrast. You don't expect toys next to the hit-making machines.
Right. These function as physical manifestations of childhood playfulness meticulously integrated into adult professionalism. It says, I take my work seriously, but I don't take myself too seriously. But crucially, the most important artifact in the room is a physical sign stating, no art here. And as the episode progresses, this philosophical statement on the wall actually physically pivots to reveal a new phrase. No art, Y-S-H-I-T.
That spatial architecture functions as a complete psychological profile. The artifacts in that room are externalized internal representations. They signal a deep recursive self-awareness. He knows exactly who he is and what his job is. But as analysts, we have to apply some rigorous scrutiny to this environment.
Okay, lay it on, Ray.
Let me push back on this for a second. Let's look at it skeptically. Does a producer's physical environment genuinely dictate their hit-making algorithm? Or are these artifacts purely superficial branding utilized to project a specific cool guy market identity? I mean, does the presence of a plastic Lego car functionally alter the digital output of the Cubase software?
That's a really fair challenge, but I would argue that it absolutely alters the output because it alters the mindset of the artists operating within that space.
Okay, how so?
Think about that pivot from no art here to no art, yes, hit. That demonstrates a deliberate, conscious shift from artistic pretension to calculated commercial execution. The space is engineered to communicate a very specific message to anyone who walks in, including Dorado. It says, while art is respected in this room, the ultimate metric of success here is commercial viability. We are here to make a hit. It aligns their goals before they even speak a word.
Ah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
The room sets the terms of engagement. And speaking of engagement, we now get to examine the relational currency system that is executed within this curated space, because this is where the cultural nuances really start to shine. Code Kunst initiates this incredibly sophisticated gift economy.
Yes, the CD and the LP.
Right, so that he spontaneously offers a compact disc to Dorado. And her reaction is so telling. She registers genuine shock, literally gasping and utilizing the phrase, a gift.
Why is she so surprised, though?
Because in the established Korean social hierarchy, an unprompted physical gift from a senior veteran producer to a junior rookie artist carries immense tangible social weight.
It is a massive acknowledgement of value, right? It says, I see you and I respect you enough to give you something of mine.
Exactly, and the transaction immediately escalates. Code Kunst then promises to provide her with a vinyl record, an LP, during their second meeting. And the source text explicitly notes that the video editors use these intense lightning bolt text effects surrounding this promise on the screen.
Okay, we have to process the logic of that visual data. Why lightning bolts? Because this is not a debate over the audio fidelity of compact discs versus vinyl records. It's not about analog versus digital warmth. It is an escalatory relational contract.
Yes. Can you break down what that second meeting promise really means in this industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Promising a second meeting is basically industry code for guaranteeing future connection. It's him saying, this isn't just a one-off TV shoot for me anymore. I actually want to work with you. It solidifies the bond that they initiated on the basketball court. The transition from offering a CD today to promising an LP tomorrow represents a literal upgrade in the relational currency. It mirrors the deepening of their professional intimacy.
Think about your own workplace, right? If you're a listener thinking about how this applies to you, if a mentor you really look up to buys you a coffee, that's a nice gesture. But if they say, let's get lunch next week, my treat, that is an escalatory contract.
Right, you feel that shift.
Suddenly you feel this unspoken obligation, this connection to step up your game. That is exactly the psychological lever Code Kunst is pulling here.
And he immediately follows it up by using humor as a chemical bonding agent to seal the deal.
Oh, the drawer scene.
Yes. The narrative includes this highly specific, highly comedic beat where Dorado is looking around and discovers an album by the veteran comedian and actor Kim Kwang-gyu just sitting inside the hip-hop producer's drawer.
It is the most random thing in the world to find in there.
It really is. The editors label this event with the caption humorous music, and they immediately shift the cool, sleek background music to reflect the total absurdity of the moment.
It's hilarious.
The irony of locating this goofy novelty item within a serious, cool hitmaker's archive completely shatters any remaining professional tension in the room. It introduces a tiny bit of chaos into this meticulously curated environment. And what does Code Kunst do? He leans into it. He refers to the comedian as hungum.
Which is a crucial detail.
Explain hum for us, because that's important.
So hung is the Korean honorific term that a younger male uses for an older brother or an older male friend they are close with. By casually dropping hung, it demonstrates real-life familiarity. It humanizes Code Kunst's previously unapproachable persona.
Right.
It proves to Dorado that he is not merely a hit-making machine operating on a higher plane of existence. He is a regular guy connected to the broader, often absurd everyday landscape of Korean pop culture.
He's basically saying, hey, I listen to goofy comedy albums too. It makes him safe. And that safety leads us directly into what I think is the most fascinating part of this entire deep dive. We have to audit the nickname hierarchy.
Oh, this is the absolute emotional core of the interaction. You can literally track how fast their relationship is progressing just by looking at what they call each other.
Yes. We can track the semantic evolution of Dorado's identity to measure the reduction of interpersonal distance. Let's look at the timeline. She begins the interaction utilizing her public stage name, Dorado. That's the shield. That's the brand.
Makes sense.
But then, as they get comfortable in the studio, she reveals her full legal name, Gwyneth Dorado, establishing a baseline of factual intimacy.
She's letting him behind the curtain slightly.
But then she drops the real key. She introduces a critical data point into the conversation. She mentions that a peer of hers from the show named Kim Jae-min, who happens to be the exact same age as her, addresses her by the intimate close friend designation, Gwyn.
And in Korean culture, bringing up someone of the same age is a very specific social key. Being the exact same age unlocks the privilege of casual speech, which is known as banmal.
Banmal.
That means you don't have to use all the polite, formal sentence endings. It's immediate closeness.
Right. So by mentioning that Kim Jae-min uses the name Gwyn Dorado is essentially providing Code Kunst with the structural permission to bypass those traditional hierarchical boundaries. She's saying, this is what my friends call me.
And Code Kunst immediately takes the invitation. He actively adopts the name Gwyn. And he justifies this sudden linguistic shift by jokingly declaring that they are now BFFs, using the English abbreviation for best friends forever.
Which is so funny coming from him, just this super cool producer saying BFFs.
It is. The utilization of that specific English abbreviation collapses the formal distance that a senior producer in his mid-30s would normally maintain with a 20-year-old rookie. This linguistic shift represents the total removal of the social mask. And honestly, it is a perfect manifestation of the Korean concept of Jeong.
Okay, we need to spend some time on Jeong. This is such a vital concept to understand Korean relationships.
It really is. So, Jeong, spelled J-E-O-N-G, is incredibly hard to translate into a single English word. It's not just friendship or love. Jeong is the layered, highly complex, sticky emotional bond that is constructed through shared, sometimes vulnerable, sometimes awkward experiences over time.
So it builds up.
Exactly. You can have Jeong with a friend, an enemy, or a place. In this case, the sweat on the basketball court, the gift of the CD, the laugh over the comedy album. All of those moments deposited Jeong into the relationship account.
And the ultimate confirmation of this Jeong bond being established is the revelation of Code Kunst's own secret nickname.
The off-air persona.
Yes, reveals his non-broadcast persona. The primary nickname utilized only by his absolute inner circle is Aga,
which translates directly to baby.
Think about the comedy of that. The juxtaposition is incredible. You have this hyper-competent, sleek, cool guy hip-hop producer surrounded by his Cubase software and his NORT signs, and his closest friends call him baby.
It's amazing.
It is a deeply intimate, almost parental term of affection. Sharing that detail with Dorado signifies the achievement of maximum mutual trust.
The contrast is inherently comedic, yes. But structurally, it is vital to the process. By the time they share these nicknames, the executive function of the studio visit is complete. They have achieved total psychological alignment by systematically peeling back every single layer of their formal identities.
And here is where the strategic application of this psychological alignment becomes critical for the actual music. If you're a listener trying to understand how to build a collaborative environment, this next sequence is the single most critical focal point you must internalize. We transition into what the show categorizes visually as the interrogation sequence.
Right, they even use comedic detective framing on the screen, like an old noir film.
Exactly. Code Kunst sits her down. The interrogation lamp is effectively turned on. But here's the genius part. He does not initiate an inquiry regarding musical parameters. He doesn't ask about her preferred beats per minute or what her absolute vocal range is. He probes her personal historical data. He prioritizes her human experience over her utility as a singer.
And the critical data point within this interrogation is the DM scam narrative.
Yes, tell us about the DM scam.
So Dorado is explaining her life, and she reveals that she was targeted by fraudulent direct messages on social media. What's fascinating linguistically here is that she utilizes the English loanword scam, pronouncing it, in the Korean phonetic style as suakheim.
Suakheim, okay.
Right. This instantly classifies her speech pattern as bilingual Gen Z. It highlights her modern, globalized perspective. And how does the veteran producer respond to this? Does he brush it off and say, anyway, let's sing?
No, he doesn't.
No. Code Kunst issues an immediate, dead-serious directive for her to contact the police and protect herself.
He completely switches into the protective older brother mode.
Exactly. And the show's editorial architecture recognizes the weight of this. They label his advice on screen with a specific Korean idiom, becoming flesh and blood.
Becoming flesh and blood, what does that imply?
Yes. This phrase denotes profoundly nourishing essential guidance. It means advice that literally keeps you alive and healthy.
Wow. That exchange proves the absolute priority of their dynamic. Code Kunst is actively investing his cognitive resources into her safety as a human entity. He is prioritizing her well-being above her capacity to generate commercial revenue for his track.
It's huge.
And this establishes an unshakable foundation of care that must precede any musical exploration. If she doesn't feel safe with him as a person, she won't take risks for him on the microphone.
Exactly. And only after this human baseline is firmly established does the actual transition to the digital audio workstation occur. The text of the show explicitly labels this moment the music exploration departure. They are finally ready to talk about the hit song.
So Code Kunst sits at the desk and begins processing audio files for her review. He's playing different beats, different sketches. And the emotional peak of this sequence occurs when Dorado issues her assessment of the presented tracks. She doesn't just say, oh, I like it. She utilizes the phrase, one not see-o.
One nai see. This is such a great piece of modern slang.
Break it down for us. What does it actually mean?
It is a highly precise abbreviation for a longer Korean phrase that basically means completely my style. But the textual representation provided by the editors on the screen is what's really important. They include periods between each syllable. One, nai, see.
Like clapping your hands between words.
Exactly. This typographic choice is a cultural emphasis technique. It functions identically to a person clapping their hands between words to enforce absolute conviction. It is not merely a statement of passing preference. She isn't saying, yeah, that's a cool beat.
It's way stronger than that.
It is a declaration of total identity alignment. She is stating that his sonic output perfectly, flawlessly matches her internal aesthetic model.
And because they've built all that trust, the basketball, the nicknames, the scam advice, he knows she isn't just flattering him, she means it. And that leads to the final test, the difficult R&B challenge.
Oh, this was tense. I was holding my breath.
It really was. Code Kunst decides to deliberately stress test her vocal parameters. He plays a highly complex, rhythmically difficult R&B track. And he physically turns around, points directly at her Zine, maintains intense eye contact, and essentially inquires regarding her confidence. He asks if she can actually execute this specific, difficult sonic profile.
And Dorado formulates a response that perfectly balances her respect for the hierarchy with supreme, undeniable self-assurance.
What does she say? It's so iconic.
She states, yes, I'm confident. Yes, I'm Dorado.
Yes, I'm Dorado. It's just so good.
It is. She seamlessly merges formal Korean syntax with playful English phrasing, creating this entirely unique linguistic signature of confidence. She is owning her identity.
Which necessitates a really important analytical inquiry into the nature of commercial music production, and I want your expert take on this. How mathematically vital is this concept of mutual confidence to the generation of a chart-topping hit compared to mere technical proficiency?
I mean, it is everything. A mathematically perfect vocal take that is devoid of conviction will never resonate with the biological entities, the human beings, consuming the audio. Listeners can hear hesitation. They can hear fear. Code Kunst expresses his quiet confidence in her with a specific phrase that translates to, can't you believe me?
He's essentially asking her to trust his vision.
Right. And Dorado mirrors this assertion by promising to definitely make it good. The editors categorize this specific dynamic on screen as a state where the producer cannot lose either. The mutual confidence acts as the operative algorithm. It is the secret sauce.
Wow.
It elevates a technically competent audio file into a culturally resonant phenomena. They're no longer just doing a job. They are now competing to provide the highest value to one another.
They want to make each other proud. It's a partnership now.
Exactly.
And we immediately observe the competitive escalation resulting from this mutual confidence.
Broader ecosystem of this show is heavily populated by the absolute apex predators of the Korean music industry.
So Dorado's assertion of having no rivals within this highly optimized, hyper-competitive environment is not mere arrogance. It's not her just being cocky. It is a direct logical output of the psychological alignment engineered by Team CoDo. They have constructed an impenetrable internal reality. They believe in their songs so much that the outside world basically ceases to matter.
It's the ultimate flow state for a collaborative duo.
It really is. So let's synthesize all this empirical data and ground this discussion in reality for our listeners, because there is a massive lesson here. Team CoDo successfully hacked the traditional, highly rigid producer-artist hierarchy. By prosecuting their initial contact within the physical equalizer of the basketball court, they neutralized the variables of intimidation status and the fear of failure.
By the time they engaged the identity canvas of the recording studio, they had successfully discarded their professional titles. They weren't veteran and rookie. They were operating strictly as music friends, as BFFs.
And this egalitarian structure facilitated the rapid, radically honest feedback loop embodied by the phrase, "one nice see." Here's the golden rule you have to remember. When hierarchy is present, feedback is always filtered through anxiety. You second guess what you're going to say to the boss.
Oh, always. You couch everything.
Right. But when genuine friendship, when Jeong is established, feedback is instant and precise. And that frictionless communication loop is the ultimate catalyst for engineering a hit song.
You can't make great art if you're afraid to tell your partner that a snare drum sounds bad.
Exactly. So you, the listener, you must now apply this architecture to your own operational reality. Think about your own day-to-day. I want you to analyze your collaborative environments. Are you trapped within the rigid parameters of a boardroom dynamic? When you pitch an idea, are you doing it in a space that inherently makes you feel small? Does the physical space you operate within reinforce hierarchical anxiety?
You have to identify the actionable execution step here.
Yeah.
How can you construct your own version of Slam Dunk Studio?
Yes. How can you utilize a physical equalizer, whether it's taking a meeting on a walking trail or playing Mario Kart with your team or just moving out from behind a massive desk to completely dismantle the hierarchical barriers separating you from your colleagues, your clients, or your mentors? Find your basketball court.
It changes the entire chemistry of the working relationship. And as we wrap up, we want to conclude with a final inquiry regarding the nature of creation itself. We spent a lot of time establishing that Code Kunst's sonic output is demonstrably influenced by the physical artifacts populating his environment.
The identity canvas.
Right. We observe the neo-soul literature reflecting his roots, the technical software dictating his parameters, the Lego structures maintaining his playfulness, and that explicit no art, YSSET philosophy printed literally on the wall to align their goals. These elements physically constitute the architecture of his creative mind.
Which leads to a deeply fascinating thought to leave you with. Therefore, you must consider this precise question as you go about your week. If a producer's sound or a team's output is inherently shaped by the physical artifacts they deliberately surround themselves with, to what extent is a hit song actually written by the architecture of the room itself rather than the people standing inside it?
Wow. That is something to think about next time you decorate your office.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this future_music deep dive. We'll catch you next time.